County Jail, Lockdown, and My Cabin of Solitude. I'd like to preface this true story about me with the following. I was a person who never, ever had thought that he would be in jail or in any trouble with the law. I was married for 14 and a half years, 2 wonderful children, and a wife who was unfaithful, and it is because of that unfaithfulness that I ended up in jail. But at any rate, that just tells you why I was there. Now I'd like to tell you the story of the county jail lockdown and My Cabin of Solitude. It is as follows. A little over 10 years ago, I did a 6-month stretch in county jail thanks to my ex-wife's adultery, lies, and hate. There are always 2 sides to a story, and this I know. And that is the case here, and her side was fraught with lies and half-truths. All of that has very little to do with the story that I'm about to share with you, except, again, it's part of me setting the stage for the fact that I was incarcerated. In all situations, no matter how powerless I am, no matter how big the heartache and pain, my God is so very good. It was January of 1998, and I was in my 3rd month of what would be a 6-month stay in the county jail. I had pictured many things for my life, but county jail was not one of them. This particular night, a blizzard raged outside. Even through the thick walls, you could hear the wind howling and look out one of the tiny windows of super thick glass. And my cell, as I watched out, revealed a whiteout conditions. I was feeling claustrophobic as I was having a hard time dealing with being locked up, and the storm outside only made it seem worse. It was about 10 o'clock, and all of us guys, about 12 in all, told in my cell unit that we were sitting watching television. There was a loud bang on the unit door, and a turnkey officer, known tenderly as Jan the Man, barked out an order that we go into our cells where we were going to be locked down for the night. Truly, a bit of panic washed over me. Lockdown meant I and my cellmate would be locked in our little unit for an unspecified length of time. And when I say little, I mean little. They were very small units. There was room enough for a bunk bed, a stainless steel toilet bowl, and a small stainless steel sink. I ambled over to the cell with Russ, my cellmate. Once everyone was in their cell, the doors slammed shut automatically and locked very, very loudly. That heavy old gray door on our cell had a lengthwise window in it with metal netting in the glass. I wasn't very big on it, but suddenly I felt anxiety turn quickly into a building panic. Russ had hit his bunk, the bottom one, and soon was out and snoring quite loudly. I hated the top bunk, and so I grabbed my mattress, or what passed for a mattress, and laid it on the floor, wrapped myself in my blanket, and lay down. I could feel my chest tightening. I was sweating, and it was difficult to breathe. I had to do something to try and put the lockdown situation out of my mind. One thing I have always had is a good imagination, and so I turned that imagination loose, and soon my head was filled with a much better scenario than the one that I was actually in. Suddenly, I was no longer in that cell. I was in a small log cabin in the woods. In my mind, I pretended that the blizzard came up very unexpectedly while I was hiking. Miles away from anywhere, I found this log cabin and took refuge in it. I really let my writer's imagination go. In the little cabin of my mind, I found chopped wood and a fireplace. I loaded it up and started a fire, which soon was giving off its warmth. I went to the cabin door and tried to open it, but it would not budge. The wind was piling a huge bank of snow right outside the door. I decided not to worry about it until morning, when I figured I would find a way out, but as for right then, I was snowbound. Then in my imaginary world, I heard heavy breathing, and a tall shadow crossed past the window. Was someone else stranded there in the woods? Should I try to open the door and let the stranger in? I walked over to the cabin window, and I peered out. I could see next to nothing. The stormy clouds blocked any light from the moon. That, with the wind-swept snow, made it impossible to see anything. I must have imagined it. In my imaginary world, I imagined seeing this shadow cross the window. I was a bit nervous, though, because I had read my books about Sasquatch, better known as Bigfoot, and I wondered, might it have been his shadow I had seen? By this time, in the real world, I was feeling much more calm, and soon I would be carried into the world of dreams. It was not long, and sleep was with me, and I slept all through the night. I woke up just as the sun was coming up. I heard the automatic locks release the doors. I had made it through the lockdown, an event I'd hoped would never happen again while I was in jail, but it did. That night reminded me, in a small way, of a cabin I rented at Horseshoe Beach in Florida. Log cabins or frame cabins have always figured prominently in my mind, but perhaps more about them at another time.